Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, take a look at the recent second trailer released and ask the question as to whether it can possibly match the impact and success of the first film. Now there might be spoilers for the first film and also all other movies and television series within the MCU, so just beware when going into this overall video. And you can also check out my thoughts on the first trailer, which was released as part of Marvel's 2022 Comic-Con footage, and I'll leave a link within the description. So onto this trailer then, and my overall thoughts are that it wasn't quite as impressive as the first trailer, which obviously had some major emotional impact as it drawed several references to Chadwick Boseman, of course, who passed away a couple of years ago. We had that very much emotional rendition of the classic Bob Marley song No Woman and No Cry. Now on the one hand, I will actually give this second trailer some credit, as it really focused far more on the movie's actual story. And whilst we'll always be respectful to Chadwick Boseman, we do have to at some point focus on the narrative and the plot of this sequel. Now this trailer itself was very action packed, but the overall visuals did have that muted, saturated feel that recent Marvel efforts have been criticised for. Now we did get a lot more focus on Namor, who will be the primary antagonist within this movie. Namor of course was one of the first big villains within Marvel Comics, making his appearance I believe first within the Fantastic Four, which I'm still a bit surprised that they didn't use him for that particular movie. But to be honest, in terms of Wakanda Forever, I've never been convinced by this interpretation of the character or indeed the actor who is playing him. I just wasn't convinced when the first look was revealed, and this trailer didn't convince me anymore. Now we do get a lot of exposition around the character, how much of a threat he is, how many have felt his overall presence, but despite all of that exposition, you don't really feel his presence or indeed his impact. Now obviously Marvel have gone for a much more diverse looking character ethnically, in keeping with the Wakandian flavour of the first film and the overall push for diversity within their Phase 4. But I'm sorry to say, this Namor, he just doesn't look right. Now, I'm not saying this not only because I'm an advocate of sticking closely to the source material, but also because I just don't think physically that this version has that true imposing nature or intimidation that I feel someone like Namor should have. Now, I hope I'm proven wrong when I go to see this film and that Namor does prove to be far more of an imposing presence. And I'm also hoping that they don't go too much for the typical empathetic, I see their point of view villain that we see far too often nowadays within movies and television series. Now of course we always want our villains to have depth and layer to them, and there's nothing wrong with having complex personalities where we can understand their motivation. And even having certain elements of empathy and sympathy can go a long way to building a great character. But at the same time we do have to still establish that this is a villainous presence, otherwise it kind of robs the story of any true intensity. If we don't really root against the villain, then who exactly are we rooting against? So I just hope that this Namor is far more of a threatening presence than what I feel he hasn't been so far in terms of his overall look and reveal, and also from what we've seen from this trailer. I think it also would have been a good idea to actually have some dialogue of the character again to make us truly feel that this is going to be a substantial threat within this film. We then look at other aspects of this trailer, and Riri Williams got very much showcased a lot this time round. We see shots of her building again, using the Stark tech as what we know from the source material, assumedly flying a Hulkbuster-like construct that we see later on in this trailer. And as we all know, Riri Williams will be appearing in her own Disney Plus series titled Ironheart in the upcoming future. So this is very much of a gateway for the character by exposing her to presumably a large box office success and a mainstream audience. Marvel is hoping that this character will cross over very well when she's introduced into her own particular series. And later on in the trailer we do get plenty of fight and chase sequences, which all look fine for the most part. More and more as I watch both trailers, it's looking increasingly like Angela Bassett is really going to give all of the emotion and gravitas that we see throughout this film, and I strongly suspect that she will be the strongest performance throughout the entire movie. We then go on to talk about the money shot, the instant that everybody was talking about and indeed anticipating for many years now, and that was of course the first big reveal of what we assume is Shuri in the Black Panther suit. Now of course, following Chadwick's late passing, there's been so much debate about whether Marvel should have recast T'Challa or whether the mantle should have been passed on to somebody else. I'm still of the belief that they should have recast the character, but here we are now, and there have been many questions as to whether Shuri is a strong enough character to be able to fill the void. How capable will she be in harnessing the power of the suit in comparison to T'Challa? Will they make her stronger? Will they make her weaker? It's a fine balancing act that Marvel has had to deal with, and whilst they will probably face criticism no matter what they do, I can respect them in many ways for making a decision and staying true to it. But in terms of the actual look of the costume, I think it looks fine. We see it's very detailed and textured. That's what we saw when we had T'Challa wearing the costume. It's got a bit more colours and fragments to it. And it's clearly Shuri or a female presence. Now, there's been further speculation that it may not even be Shuri, that it could be one of the other female characters. But I would say that it probably is Shuri. And I would also bet that we probably won't see her in the suit until certainly the late stages of the movie, or indeed the climactic final act. I suppose the real question is, will she remain Black Panther at the end of the movie? Or will there be a son of T'Challa, as what many rumours have speculated online, that will go on to take the mantle in the future? Will we see some form of the multiverse variants that we'll probably see many ways in the upcoming phases of the MCU as they delve far more into the multiverse, where we will see a variant of T'Challa appearing to take over the role as King of Wakanda? We will wait and see, but I think overall this trailer, it wasn't bad. It wasn't nearly as impressive as the first, but I have no doubts that the film will be a massive success when it releases on November the 11th. So the only real question is, how big will Wakanda Forever be? Can it possibly be as big or even bigger than the first film? Now, overall, I don't think it will quite gross the same 1.3 billion worldwide total that we saw from the first film back in 2018. I think the MCU has come down a little bit because obviously COVID, and also to the limited territories that it can release these films in. It won't, of course, be released in the likes of China and Russia, which did represent a huge majority of the box office grosses for Marvel's movies. But I think it will definitely make 1 billion worldwide, and I think this is largely because of just the homage and the reference to Chadwick. I think audiences will just turn out in massive droves just to see how exactly Marvel will reference and pay respect to Chadwick. I'm sure they will do this probably at the beginning and most likely in the end credits sequences as well. And I'm sure, regardless of what you think about the MCU in terms of its phase 4, when we do get the eventual homage to Chadwick, I'm sure it's going to draw a lot of emotional responses from audiences within the cinema. Now, overall, I still believe that Avatar: The Way of the Water will end up being the highest grossing movie of 2022. Currently, that title belongs to Top Gun Maverick. I think Wakanda Forever will probably just fall short of Top Gun Maverick, but it will still be a huge, massive success for Marvel, and probably the best way to sign off their Phase 4, which, regardless of how much I've supported the MCU, I cannot deny has had multiple issues and problems, mainly creatively, not only in terms of the movies, but especially even more so of the television series on Disney Plus as well. But despite all of that, I still reckon Black Panther Wakanda Forever will be an overall big success when it releases, and will probably provide a lot of satisfaction and emotional weight for many fans of the MCU. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of the second trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and whether it will go on to be as successful or even more successful than the first film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Were you a fan of the first film? Are you excited for this second entry? Do you think it will fall way short? Do you think it can't possibly have the same cultural significance and impact of the first movie? Did you think it was a mistake not to recast T'Challa in the role? And how do you think overall they will deal with the possibility of Shuri taking over as the Black Panther, not only for this movie, but also further movies going ahead and the future also of the MCU? Let me know what you think in the comments, and of course, when the movie does release on November the 11th, I will of course provide non-spoiler and spoiler reviews, and also further commentary on the box office opening and any significant impact that the sequel may possibly have many days and weeks after it overall releases. So look out for that content further on the channel, and if you have any other suggestions in terms of movies, television series, or any other hot topics that you'd like to see me talk about within this channel, then also drop me a suggestion in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you later on down the line. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.